So much of the discussion around today's ruling from a government standpoint is centered on the enormous implications for the judiciary. But what about the political fallout? Shortly after the Supreme Court ruling was handed down, President Biden delivered an address which included a lot of noteworthy rhetoric. Don't forget, this was a speech that was obviously in the works for weeks, likely since the draft opinion of the Supreme Court's decision was made so public. So those words were chosen very carefully, and it was a conscious decision for him to call on Congress to codify Roe v. Wade.
This is a sad day for the country, in my view. But it doesn't mean the fight's over. Let me be very clear and unambiguous. The only way we can secure a woman's right to choose, the balance that existed, is for Congress to restore the protections of Roe v. Wade as federal law. No executive action from the president can do that. And if Congress, as it appears, lacks the votes to do that now, voters need to make their voices heard. This fall, we must elect more senators and representatives who will codify women's right to choose into federal law once again. Elect more state leaders to protect.
All right, if that wasn't clear enough, the president went on to spell out what he believes are the stakes of the 2022 midterm elections.
We need to restore the protections of Roe as law of the land. We need to elect officials who will do that. This fall, Roe is on the ballot. Personal freedoms are on the ballot. The right to privacy, liberty, equality, they're all on the ballot. Until then, I will do all of my power to protect a woman's right in states where they will face the consequences of today's decision.
There's no question President Biden and the Democrats want to put this issue front and center in the fall. The question is, will it pay off for them with swing voters? Joining us now, Democratic political analyst, columnist Jason Nichols, professor as well, which we'll add to the title. It's good to see you, my friend. Thank you. All right. Historically, single-issue voters who say the court is most important break roughly 60-40 for Republicans. Do you get that to 50-50 now?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people are really going to be concerned about judges. And one of the things that's been really successful for the Biden administration is that they have gotten lower court judges confirmed. But I think that codifying Roe is definitely going to be on the ballot. It's something that Democrats need. And not so much, I'll correct one thing you stated, and that was you were talking about swing voters. I think it's more about the Democratic base. Joe Biden had been losing young voters, young women in particular. We're starting to get disinterested at the very least, if not turning against him based on, things like vaccine mandates and some of the culture war things, and certainly the economy and gas prices and all these things that are piling up on this administration. And right now, when you have something that is so fundamental like right to privacy and reproductive freedom and healthcare, and you can put that on the ballot, that's going to motivate the Democratic base of young voters who are not necessarily excited about Joe Biden.
Yeah, you make a great point in that being for something, as Democrats are now able to do and say that we will codify abortion rights is a lot easier than being against things or playing defense, as they will have to do and have been doing on the economy. You make a great point about young women. I'll think a little bit about older women. Somebody like my mother, who's been historically a swing voter back and forth, she says she's going back to the street. She's going to be at a pro-choice protest tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., which is stunning to me, but she promised she'd do it, and she's going to be there. So you think about her, who believes in abortion rights, but at the same time is not up to abortion on demand before at the time of birth at any point, which is so much of what you hear from the progressive left. Is there a danger by the left of overplaying this hand and turning off, for every young woman, turning off an older woman who says, look, I'm for abortion rights, but not abortion on demand? Democrats are taking it too far.
Well, I definitely think that's the case. And if you listen to the president's comments, they were very measured. He said that they overturned Roe, didn't just limit it. And I think that your mother is part of the 80% of Americans, according to a Gallup poll, that say that there should be some abortion rights. And the Democrats want to be within that 80%. They don't want to overplay their hand. And I think they're not going to try to be too progressive on this. They want just to get those rights back.
Well, we'll see if Tim Ryan of Ohio is listening to you. He's running for Senate, and he refused to say when he would limit abortion in terms of a time period. So there you go. Hey, Jason, it was good to see you. Thanks for staying up on a Friday night.
It's always good, Leland. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.